Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, State Senator Andy Gardner.
Well, good evening. Before I begin, I do have an update. It's my understanding the Gators are still winning. Before I introduce our next guest, there are a couple people that I want to recognize. I want to recognize, if you would please give them a thank you. The City of Apopka police officers, you see them all around here. Thank you for all the ones you do. The firefighters. And I believe he's in the audience here. This location, and the vision for this location would not have happened without Mayor John Land. Mayor John Land. I see so many great leaders. It's so exciting to see everybody here. I saw Commissioner Fred Brummer volunteering his time, helping everybody get to their seats. Are we excited or what? There is no doubt that our country is at a crossroads. We have heard and listened and talked about what this country has been for 4 years. The other night, Governor Romney got to do something that we have all wanted to do for 4 years. He got to ask the questions and respond to the president, questions that the press won't ask. Now, John Ricketson of the Apopka chief would ask him, but maybe not the others. But we all know how important this election is. The crowds show that. The people still coming in show that. When we leave here tonight, and you go home and you celebrate the Gators winning, tomorrow you're going to get up and go to church. And then on Monday, you're going to start watching the campaigns, you're going to see the commercials, and you're going to start asking yourself, what is the campaign doing? What's the campaign doing? Don't ask what the campaign's doing. What are you doing? Everybody here is going to vote for Governor Romney. But who's your neighbor voting for? Have you asked them? Have you called them? Do you have the sign in your yard? Governor Romney mentioned the other night that 50% of the college kids graduating today cannot find work. I bet you know one. You better call them and ask them, who are you voting for President of the United States? This is the most important election in our time. I'm blessed to have a 9-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. This election is about them. I see kids here. I see a baby right up there. This is about them. So we all have to work hard. And when we all leave here, there are a couple things we know. Mitt Romney is going to be the next President of the United States. And everybody will know that Apopka is Mitt Romney country. Now, when Governor Romney is sworn in as president, he's going to need partners. He's going to need good conservative congressmen and women to help him turn this country around, to cut taxes, to cut the deficit. And we have one here tonight. We've had one that has represented us in Tallahassee, a good, pro-life Christian, somebody that I have admired since I was a kid, somebody that I am truly honored to introduce him. He's going to win, and he's going to be the governor, Romney's partner. Please welcome to the stage, Dan Webster.
See everybody tonight. This is awesome. What an awesome crowd. So I heard something the other night. The president said that he agreed with the governor on certain items. And the governor said he agreed with the president. Get this. I agree with Joe Biden. For the last 4 years, under the Barack Obama-Joe Biden reign, they have been buried. Those are his words, not mine. The middle class has been buried. So here we go. I want to give you a story. A story about 2 words which we saw the other night. It's a perfect picture of what happened in the debate. And it can be all boiled down to 1 word per side. The first word, you can probably guess which side this is the word envy. Envy pits 2 groups against each other. Envy pits 2 people against each other and says, I want what you have. And when I get what you have, you don't have anything and I have a lot. So there's only 1 room at the top for people like that. And so they pit groups against each other, people against each other. our country against each other. What a sad thing. Envy. And that's what I saw. On the other hand, there's another word. And I want you to remember this word. Because I don't believe envy is the picture of America. I don't believe envy is the word that represents America. I don't believe the word envy is what I believe and what you believe. Instead, there's another word for another message, a better message, a greater message, a winning message. And that word is aspire. We have a country where every aspiration can come true. We have great freedoms. We have great opportunity. We have great opportunities to expand and to grow. And when that takes place, every person's aspiration can come true. That's what Mitt Romney stands for. I'm going to tell you a story. The other day I was talking to John Boehner on the phone, and he told me a story. He said, there was a fella, when he first ran for Congress in 1990, John Boehner was running, and he had some volunteers. And there was one kid that volunteered for him. He was about 19, 20 years old. And all he did was put up yard signs. He went all over the place. He'd beg people to take a yard sign. They would take it. He would run and get it, and he'd come and put it back up. That person was Paul Ryan. Only in America can we aspire to be what we need to be and what we want to be. Only in America can we not only have aspirations for ourselves, but also for our children, our grandchildren, our friends, and others. And you know what? When they're fulfilled, it doesn't push anybody else away. It gives them the same opportunities and the same freedoms to aspire to be great. That's what this message is all about. That's why Mitt Romney must be elected President of the United States. So all I'd ask you to do is this one thing. Be a compass. A compass is something that guides us. And there are many, many people out there that may not know who to vote for. There may be others who don't even want to go to the polls. I would tell you, be that compass for those people. Guide them, direct them to the polls, direct them to who to vote for. Tell them who to vote for. Don't say just go vote. You tell them. You tell them about a message of aspiration that we can have in this country. I saw a little billboard on the way to an event the other day, and it said, aspire to inspire before you expire. Yes, this country is built on aspirations. It's built on freedom and liberty, and we can do it. And I just want to tell you also, we have some great leaders in this state. And one of them is here tonight, and it's going to be good to introduce him. He's a cabinet member. He's a former president of the state senate, and he is a key player in our statewide effort to make this state the greatest state in the country. His name and his title, it's Jeff Atwater. He's the Chief Financial Officer of the state. Welcome him to this platform.
Hello, Apopka! Hello, Central Florida! Are you ready for change this time? All right, so we all saw the debate, didn't we? And wasn't it amazing? You know, 2 weeks out, 1 week out, Chris Matthews saying, what is Mitt Romney going to say to change this election? Rachel Maddow was saying, what can he say to inspire the American people? That's because they didn't want to say, what in the world is Barack Obama going to say about his record? You put a man out without a teleprompter, what's he supposed to do? So, in that we've had Al Gore say, but it wasn't fair. He was at the altitude of Denver. Wasn't it amazing? At that same altitude 4 years ago, he had every star in Hollywood crying in Denver. Now he's had all the rest of us crying for the last 4 years. said that night in front of the Roman columns 4 years ago when he could catch his breath and read it off a teleprompter. He said, "We're going to fundamentally change this country." We should have taken him at his word. He did it. No wonder he had a hard time at the debate. Because with an aggressive moderator from public television, he had to try to explain what he meant by fundamentally changing America. But he couldn't say it, could he? The change he brought us was 1 out of every 6 Americans are now in poverty. The change he brought us are 23 million Americans out of work. The change he brought us, as Mitt Romney reminded us, is that 50% of all those graduating from college under Barack Obama can't find a job. That 47 million Americans under Barack Obama's change are now on food stamps. The question we can ask ourselves now is why in the world would someone who would believe in the Constitution of this country, believe in what we stand for, ever stand in front of an audience and say they want to fundamentally change America instead of saying, "I will fundamentally, with every breath in my body, defend America"? They were both asked a question. That tough moderator, he laid it on them. He said, "Tell us what you believe about government." And Barack Obama went on and on and on. He talked about programs. He talked about regulations. He talked about investments. He talked about scarcity. If you put Barack Obama in charge of the Sahara Desert, within 3 years there'd be a sand shortage. And then the moderator turned to Mitt Romney. Basically, it was the only question Mitt Romney allowed the moderator to get in. And he said, "I want to answer that question about governance." And you know what he did? He just turned his shoulders and asked everybody to remember the words that were on the wall behind him. The founding documents of this country. He said, "This is all I need to know. People risk their lives and their sacred honor. That we uniquely upon all the places on this planet, not because of our natural resources, not because of our rich diversity, but the power of freedom gives us the greatest opportunity of all the world." That Constitution is what I believe in. You know what Mitt Romney knows? You know what Mitt Romney knows? He knows our story. He knows our potential. He knows those documents. He knows that in this unique place on the planet, a 28-year-old free American by the name of Eli Whitney invented a cotton gin. He didn't do it with a grant from the USDA. He knows that a 45-year-old free American by the name of Robert Fulton created a powerboat steam engine, and he did it without the Federal Inland Navigational District's help. He knows that a 39-year-old American by the name of Charles Goodyear vulcanized rubber, and he did it without the Department of Environmental Protection. He knows that a 28-year-old American by the name of Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, and he did it without the Federal Communications Division. He knows that a a 32-year-old American by the name of Thomas Edison invented a light bulb. He knows that a 32 and 36-year-old Americans by the name of Orville and Wilbur on December 17, 1903, for 12 seconds and 120 feet, slipped the bounds of gravity and they flew. He knows that a 45-year-old American invented the automobile. He knows that Amelia Earhart was the first woman on the planet to fly across both oceans, and she was an American. And when the world was being ravaged by polio, it was a 41-year-old American who invented the vaccine for polio without the Department of Health. He knows that a 20-year-old dropped out of college and created Apple, and a 21-year-old American in his garage created Microsoft. And he knows, in the great state of Florida, there are 2.2 million Floridians who are called small business owners, who get up every morning without a federal grant, unlock the keys to their door, they'll work 7 days a week, they'll work 24 hours a day, because like Eli Whitney, because like Alexander Graham Bell, because like Thomas Edison and the Wright brothers and Ford and Jonas Salk, they built it. That's what Mitt Romney knows. That's what Mitt Romney knows. He knows we have the finest military on the planet. They are to be thanked. They are to be praised. Yes, sir. That's what Mitt Romney knows. They are the finest, they are to be praised, and they are to be equipped with every device and every resource necessary to protect their lives while they protect freedom all over the globe. In 4 years, Mitt Romney as governor reduced taxes 19 times. As president, Barack Obama in 4 years has raised taxes 21 times. Mitt Romney cut the debt, he cut the spending, and education improved. Under Barack Obama, he has raised your taxes, he has spent more of your money, he has indebted your children, and everything has gone south. It is time for that change. So, if you're ready to believe in a man who believes in the Constitution, if you're ready to believe in that Constitution because he knows that every one of you have your God-given talent and you're ready to apply it every day in the word work, if you're ready for a man who believes you know what's best for your future, you know what's best for your children, and you know what's best for this country, if you're ready for that man, we've got 30 days to get everybody else up and going. Mitt Romney ended it this way. Under that tough, persevering questions from Jim Laird. In that high altitude of Denver. He was asked the final question, what's the election about? He said, it's not about the two of us standing on this stage. It's not about our two parties. It's about the course of America and the America we want to create for our children. And he said, I'm ready to give everything I have, everything I am, to give them a chance and prosperity that our parents gave to us. Are you ready to join them in that fight? It's time! It's time! Let's go!
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Artur Davis.
Hello, Florida! Hello, Florida! Good evening, and yes, we got the rain to hold us. Now, what a difference 90 minutes without a teleprompter makes. And Florida, what a difference 4 years makes. 4 years ago, President Obama told us about his own election that the rise of the oceans would begin to slow, that the planet would begin to heal. Now, I don't know about you, but the oceans look the same to me, and the planet looks the same to me. And remember 4 years ago when he said, if you only give me power, I will bring America together. And now 4 years later, the president in his own words says, oh, this job is so hard. People are mean to you when you're president. The other party tries to block you. You struggle to create jobs, and it's so hard to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, may we have some sympathy, and may we say, Mr. President, if you can't fix the country, get out of the way so we can put in someone who can. Before I give you your next senator, I will say just one thing about our governor. Ladies and gentlemen, in all seriousness, don't we need someone as our president who understands that when you become president, you're not lifted above the American people. You become their servant. You're not lifted above the American people. And no, Mitt and Ann Romney do not believe they're the ones we've been waiting for, because George and Lenore Romney did not teach Mitt Romney to think of himself that way. But sometimes the man meets the hour. You know the hour we're in. And after tonight and after watching that debate the other night, you will know the nature of the man. Mitt Romney is going to be our president. But you've got to do more than elect a president. So I want to ask you, how many of you are happy with what's going on in Washington, D.C.? If you don't like it, why would you ever send Bill Nelson back? The only reason there's Obamacare is because Bill Nelson says one thing in Florida and another thing in Washington. Isn't that right? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to give you my old friend from the House of Representatives. I hear a distinguished member of a baseball family. I hear a distinguished member of a Florida political family. More fundamentally, I give you your next United States Senator, Connie Mack. Hello. Hello. Are you ready to take back America? Are you ready for lower taxes? Are you ready for less regulation? Are you ready for more jobs? Are you ready to believe in America again?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity in this election to make sure we get America back on the right course. We have an opportunity in this election to say, we're proud to be an American. We're proud of our children and what their dreams are. We're proud of the future, and there is opportunity around the corner. I'm here to tell you that together we can make a difference. Together we can make sure that Mitt Romney is the next president of the United States. You know, I know you feel the same way I do. How proud we are of Mitt Romney and the way he stood up to the president in that debate. I know you feel the same way I do, that there were a lot of times when we watched Mitt Romney on stage with the president, it appeared that Mitt Romney knew more about the president's policies than the president knew about his own policies. You see, I think that some of the liberals in Washington have forgotten what's happening in America. People are struggling to find work. They're struggling to keep a roof over their head. And the president just seemed like he didn't understand. But you know what? Mitt Romney understands. Mitt Romney understands that if we want to get America moving again, we need to put our faith and our trust back in you, the American people. So let me tell you the way I see it. If Mitt Romney wins, I win. If I win, Mitt Romney wins. And if we win, America and Florida wins. It is an honor for me to be here. It is an honor for me to have the opportunity to introduce to you the next President of the United States, the next First Lady of the United States, Mitt Romney.
To be here with you this evening. How it humbles us to see so many people come out and care about our country so deeply that you'd spend your evening with Ann and me. I brought someone special with me, as you can tell. This is a young lady who went to the same elementary school I did. I didn't notice her then, but when we got to high school and she was just about 16, we went to a party together. She was with someone else, and I decided that I wanted to take her home with me, or to her home rather, to take her off. That was later. But so I said to the guy that she came to the party with, I said, you know, I live closer to Ann than you do. Can I give her a ride home for you? And he said, sure. And we've been going steady ever since. My sweetheart, Ann Romney.
Wow.
see so many people come out and believe in America. We believe in America. I think back of all of us that have had ancestors that have come to the shores of America with the promise of America. I had a grandfather that started working at age 6 in the coal mines of Wales. He came to America with nothing in his pocket but hope and dream. We have to do everything we can to keep that promise of America alive for all Americans. I have seen Mitt in every capacity as a husband, a father, a businessman, a governor, someone that ran the Olympics. And I will tell you something, this man does not fail. I can't wait to let him get the keys to the economic engine to drive this economy so that we can get better jobs for all of Americans because we care about all Americans. So let's hear from the next President of the United States.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman Connie Mack, the next U.S. Senator from Florida. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, former Congressman Archer Davis. What an extraordinary man and leader, and I appreciate his willingness to support my campaign and help me across America. Thank you, Archer. Thank you to one of the men who has co-chaired my effort here in Florida, your Chief Financial Officer, Jeff Atwater. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you to Congressman Dan Webster. He's going to get reelected by the good people in this district. Thank you. Now, you may have heard that earlier this week we were in Denver, Ann and I were, and I enjoyed the debate a good deal, I got to tell you. It was an opportunity for me to express my own views on issues I care about deeply, to do so without the filter of the media or people deciding which clip to watch or not watch or even 30-second ads, but instead I got to describe my vision for America. And I was pleased that I had as positive a response as that which came. I was also pleased that I got to ask the President some questions I know people across America have wanted to ask him. Like, for instance, with 23 million Americans out of work, why it was when he took office, instead of focusing on jobs, he instead focused on Obamacare. I asked him that question. I asked him another question. I asked him why it was with gasoline prices headed higher and higher, he cut back on the number of permits, and both to drill and onshore and offshore. I got to ask him why it was that with our immigration system as broken as it is, why it was that he didn't do what he said he'd do in his first year, which was that his first year he said he put in place immigration reform policies that would deal with this issue, and he didn't do that. That's a question I didn't ask in the last debate, but I hope I get a chance to ask in the next debate. I got to ask him about that $90 billion he gave out to companies in the green energy world, places like Solyndra and Enter1 and Fisker and Tesla, some of whom were contributors to his campaign, and pointed out that that $90 billion could have hired 2 million school teachers instead. I got to ask, given the fact that in the past he had called the deficits under his predecessor un-American and unpatriotic, why it was that the deficits he put in place were twice as large. I got to ask why, when he promised the people of America that he'd bring down your health insurance premiums by $2,500, he instead saw them go up by $2,500. So I asked him those questions, and you heard his answers, or his non-answers. And I guess the reason he had a hard time answering those particular questions was because Well, it's something he said just the other day. He said, you know, you can't fix Washington from the inside. You can only fix it from the outside. We're going to give him that chance on November 6th. And there were places we agreed. He and I agreed that this is a critical election for the country. This is an election which will decide the course of America, not just for 4 years, but for a good deal longer. This is not just a race between two individuals or even two parties. It's a race to define what America is going to be over the coming decades. The president has his vision, the place he'd take it. I have a different vision. Under his vision, you're going to see higher and higher deficits adding up to larger and larger debt. In my view, that will kill the American dream. Instead, my vision is to balance our budget, get us on track to slow down government spending, and make sure our kids have a bright and prosperous future. Under his vision, he's going to raise taxes. The vice president blurted out the truth the other day. You know, he said they're going to raise taxes $1 trillion. And of course, if you account the Obamacare taxes, it's really $2 trillion they're planning on raising taxes. And then there was a study that was done just this last week in which they calculated how much interest there's going to be on the debt he's putting in place. And they calculate, because of all that interest expense and all the spending he's doing, that he's going to also raise taxes on middle-income families by an average of $4,000 per family. Look, my plan is not to raise taxes on anyone, and I'm going to reduce taxes for middle-income Americans. And he made it very clear, of course, that he's planning on installing Obamacare. And by the way, the Congressional Budget Office has calculated that Obamacare will cost you about $2,500 more than a standard insurance policy. That's the additional cost of Obamacare. By the way, he keeps promising all these wonderful things you get in Obamacare for free. Then he doesn't tell you that the policy is going to cost $2,500 a year more. So it's not for free. If I'm president, we're going to repeal Obamacare and replace it with real health care reform. And as you know, the president has made it clear that he's going to go ahead with $716 billion in cuts to Medicare. And by the way, that's $44 billion of cuts right here in Florida. And that would mean, incidentally, that 540,000 of our current Medicare beneficiaries, 540,000 of our seniors that have Medicare Advantage, would lose Medicare Advantage here in Florida. My plan is to preserve and protect Medicare. I'll put that money back. And I think what was most striking about the president's comments was that when it came to jobs and the economy, he doesn't really have anything to add to what he's been doing over the last 4 years. I don't think we can afford 4 more years like the last 4 years. He, in fact, wants another stimulus. How'd that last stimulus work out? And of course, he's intent on having the government make investments, pick winners and losers, or in his case, losers. And then he wants to hire more government workers. There's nothing wrong with people who work for our government, but that's not going to get this economy going. He's in favor of the status quo. And you understand what's happening in this country. Half the kids graduating from college can't find work or college-level work. 1 out of 6 Americans has fallen into poverty. When he took office, 32 million Americans were on food stamps. Now, 47 million Americans are on food stamps. Every year, the median income in America has gone down. It's down $4,300 a family. And with average family income of around $50,000, that hurts. Gasoline prices are up twice what they used to be. These are tough years for the middle class and for the poor in America. if we calculated, by the way, our unemployment rate in a way that was consistent with the way it was calculated when he came into office, it'd be a different number. You see, if the number of people, if the percentage of the American population that were in the workforce were the same today as the day he was elected, our unemployment rate would be above 11%. This is inexcusable that a nation that's so prosperous as ours, that 4 years of a presidency has not been able to get America back on track. He can't, he doesn't know how, I know how, and I will get the job done. I will do 5 things. I will do 5 things that will get this economy humming again. Number 1, I'm going to take full advantage of our coal, our oil, our gas, our nuclear, and our renewables. All those permits and licenses the president's cut back on, I'm going to double. And I'm going to open up Alaska for us to be able to get oil from there, too. And we're going to build that pipeline from Canada if I have to do it myself. That's going to create about 3.5 to 4 million jobs, taking advantage of our energy, not just energy jobs, but other jobs that are in manufacturing that use energy. We're going to bring those jobs back home. Number 2, I want more trade, particularly with Latin America. I'm going to push for more free trade so we can sell our goods around the world. But by the way, if nations cheat and China has cheated, I'm going to stop it. We've got to put a stop to this kind of cheating. Number three, we have to have training programs that prepare our workers today for the jobs of today, and schools that prepare our kids for the jobs of tomorrow. And for that to be the case, well, let me tell you, right now there are 47 different federal job training programs. 47. They report to 8 different agencies. There's so much overhead and overlapping responsibility. I want to do this. I want to take all that money, and I want to give Florida its fair share and say, you create the programs that work best for your own people. And education. Florida can teach the nation some lessons on education. Jeb Bush, what a great governor. He was serious about education. He made sure that schools are graded A through F so parents know which schools are working and which ones aren't. And he made sure that, and I want to do the same thing, by the way. I want all our schools across the nation to be graded A through F so parents know which schools are good and not. And then he also gave parents more choice here. If a school was failing, kids were able to go to a school of their choice. The federal government sends out a lot of money to schools. IDEA money, Title I money for disabled and poor kids. I want to make sure those dollars don't just go to states and to school districts. I want them to go to the kids, if you will, so the parents are able to choose the school their child goes to. We have to put the children and the parents and the teachers first and the teachers' union behind. Number four, I've already mentioned it. You're not going to get entrepreneurs to risk their life savings to start a business, or companies to come to Florida or other states and expand and hire more people if they think we're on the road to Greece. And let me tell you, if this president keeps spending $1 trillion or more that we take in than we take in every year, you're going to see us on the road to Greece, and you're going to see a financial crisis down the road. I will not let that happen. I will cut federal spending, and I will get us on track to a balanced budget. And number five, there is one sector of the private sector that's created 2/3 of American jobs over the last 15 years. And this is the sector I'll champion: small business. We have to help small business. Small business is a source of jobs. It's also a great source of opportunity. Hispanic Americans are even more active in starting new businesses than the population at large. We need to help people with small business. That means keeping taxes down on small business, getting regulators to encourage them, and making sure we get rid of Obamacare. It kills jobs in small business. Now, I want you to know how confident I am in the future of this country. I have seen the American spirit throughout my life, throughout this campaign. I've met people who've epitomized what it is that makes America such a unique place and such an exceptional nation. We're an entrepreneurial people. We're hardworking. We'd rather work than take vacations. I know some people, they go on vacation, they're out there doing something every minute. They just want to be going all the time. It's part of our national spirit. We work hard. And we're always looking for opportunities to start things and fix things and improve things. It's just who we are. But one of the things I love most about this country is the great quality of the human spirit, our patriotism for America. I've seen everywhere I've gone. I had the thrill of going over to Afghanistan and Iraq when I was still serving as governor. Both conflicts were going on at that point, and I went from base to base, and I'd say hello to the troops that were from my home state of Massachusetts, and I'd say to them, there's someone from Massachusetts, hi out there, and I'd say to them, by the way, if you'd like me to call your mom or your dad when I get home, or your spouse, take out a piece of paper and write down their name and telephone number, and I'll call them when I get home. Well, by the time I left the area, Iraq and Afghanistan, I had 63 pieces of paper in my pocket. And I thought, this is going to take a while to make it through all these calls. I got home the night before Memorial Day. And on Memorial Day morning, I thought, before the kids get up and we spend some time together with the family, I'll make a few calls and just get this started. On about the second or third call, the woman who answered the phone said, "Oh, Governor Romney, I thought that might be you calling." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, you know, you made some calls this morning to some spouses, and then they emailed their soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan saying you were calling, and they emailed each other, and so we've been expecting your call today." So I made 63 calls on Memorial Day, and you know, I was a little concerned about the calls because this was before the surge in Iraq and before we've been so successful in our military action there, and I expected that some of them would say what some politicians were saying, that we had lost in Iraq, we should divide the country in three or whatever, and I thought some would say, "Why is my loved one still there? Can't they come home?" In 63 calls, not one complaint, not one. And in each call, I would end with roughly these words: "On behalf of our country and on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I want to express my appreciation to you for the sacrifice of your family and the sacrifice of your loved one for our great country." And they would either interrupt me or wait till I was finished and say roughly these words: "No, Governor, it's an honor to be able to sacrifice for the greatest nation on earth." I love our patriotism. I love the spirit of America. I love the hearts of our fellow citizens. I saw a classmate of mine just a few weeks ago in Atlanta at an event. This classmate was a very successful business person, and then he was involved in a tragic accident which left him paralyzed from the neck down. And I went to an event. It was hot and a lot of people there crowding around, but I looked back and I saw kind of a space in the crowd. I looked carefully, and there was Billy Holtz. He'd come to my event. It touched my heart to see him there, and they pushed his wheelchair forward, and he came up, and I reached over and put my arm on his shoulder, and I whispered into his ear. And I said, "Billy, I love you, and God bless you." And Billy was an inspiration to me in the things he'd done up to that point, because even though he lost his mobility, he stayed active in his business, active in spinal cord research, doing everything he could to try and help other people from experiencing the suffering he'd had. So I was happy to put my hand on his shoulder and thank him and express my love to him and ask God to bless him. And I got a call from a friend that he died the next day after that visit. It's rare that you get the chance to tell someone how much you love them when you still can. I thought back to a time a little earlier in my life when I was serving as the pastor of my congregation. And I'd been visiting a family, the Oporowski family. You may have seen them speak at the Republican convention. Ted Oporowski, firefighter for the Medford Police Department. His wife, Pat, had 2 sons. And David was about 14 years old. He became afflicted with leukemia. And I spent time with David. I'd visit with him. We became more and more friendly. I asked him what would he like more than anything else in the world. He said fireworks. So I bought some, and they had a big box of fireworks, ultimately lit them off. And on one occasion, he brought me into his bedroom while he was still at home, and he said, "Mitt, what happens next?" And I talked to him about what I believe about life hereafter. And then as he was really ill and in the hospital, he called one day, and I think either he called directly or Pat, his mom, called and said, "David wants you. You got a law degree, right?" I said, "Yes. I'm not a practicing lawyer, but I have a law degree." And she said, or he said, would you come to the hospital? He wants to dictate his will to you." And so I went to the hospital, got out my legal pad to make it look official, and said, "David, what do you want to do?" And he said, "Well, here, I want my fishing rod to go to one friend, and I want my skateboard to go to another friend, and I want my rifle to go to my brother." And through all this, David had the kind of strength and courage and maturity you see in so many of our young people and so many of the people in this great nation of ours. I thought of that wonderful slogan some years later: clear eyes, full heart, can't lose. David passed away, but I'll always remember, never forget, his courage, his clear eyes, his full heart. He won't lose. One more experience that will underscore the greatness of the human spirit and the greatness of this great land of ours. And this was at the Republican convention. I met someone named Jane Horton. Jane also suffered tragedy in her life. Her husband, Christopher, was serving in Afghanistan. On the day she was packing up a care package to go to him for his birthday, the knock came at the door that he'd been tragically killed there. And what did she do? She didn't fall into sadness and despair, but instead went to work to help other families that had lost loved ones and served our nation. She went to the funeral for her husband when his remains came back, of course, and this was at a time when that misguided group was protesting at funerals of our servicemen. And she was asked, "What do you think about these people protesting at your husband's funeral?" And she said this, and I quote, "Chris died for them to be able to protest." This is quite a nation we live in. I love those who serve our country. I love that verse from one of our national hymns. "Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life." Would our veterans and members of the armed services please raise your hands and please be recognized. Thank you. I believe in America. I believe in you. I believe our future is bright because I believe in the greatness of the American spirit. We're going to overcome the challenges we have. I'm counting on Florida to win this for me on November 6th so we can take back this country, get it strong again. I love this nation. We're going to win in Florida. We're going to win across the country. We're going to get America back on the path that it needs to be to have a bright and prosperous future. Thank you so very much. You're the best.